Okay guys, today we are just going to review adding and subtracting fractions. I still felt when we worked on them the other day we were not quite there. So let's review the steps real quick. The first thing you need to do when adding or subtracting fractions is you need to find a common denominator. And go ahead and write these down so these can really stick in our brain because we're still struggling with the steps that we need. So first thing we need to do, find that common denominator in our two fractions. Okay, so if I had 1/2 plus 1/4, I would need to look at that 4 and that 2 and find a common denominator. And just as a refresher how to do that, remember I just take my 2, take my 4, and I do common multiples for them until I find one that's in common. So count by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8. Count by 4s, 4, 8, 12. You see the first one I have in common there is that 4. So I know my common denominator there would be a 4, okay? Once I have a common denominator, my second step, make sure you again write this down, second step is you have to change both fractions to that denominator. So I have my common denominator, so my 1/2 plus 1/4. I know my common denominator is 4, so now I need to change both fractions so they have a 4 on the bottom. So if I have 1/2, I need to make that have a 4 on the bottom. And I know I go from 2 from my denominator times 2 there to equal 4. So I know on top I have to do the same thing on top as I do to the bottom of a fraction. So I go 1 times 2, that would equal 2/4. Now you see my other fraction here already has a 4, so I don't need to do anything to that. So I'll take my 2/4 plus the 1/4 that I already have. Okay, so that would be my second step. I change both fractions so they have that same denominator. Now my third step, and I just add or subtract a fraction. So I add or subtract. Because with fractions, once I have that common denominator, like my 2/4 plus my 1/4, once I have that common, it's very easy to add or subtract. So I just go 2 plus 1 is 3. And we know when we add or subtract fractions, we don't do anything with that denominator, so it stays the same. So just to refresh, first thing you do, find a common denominator, you change your fractions, and then you add or subtract them. So let's do a few together. Go ahead and try this problem. 2/4 plus, that's the same as last time. Let me try a different one. Let's do 1/5 plus 3/10. Go ahead, pause the video and give that a try, then we'll do it together. Okay, so if we're going to solve this, our first step, we have to find that common denominator between our 5 and 10 there. So let's see, I'll go 5, 10, count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, count by 10s, 10, 20. You can see right away there I had a common denominator of 10. So I know on this one, my common denominator will be 10. Second step, let's change both of the fractions. So I know both fractions are now going to have a 10 on the bottom. This one's already 10, the bottom, so I don't need to do anything. So the 3 just goes straight over, 3/10. The top one I have to go 5 times 2 to equal 10. So I have to do times 2 to the top fraction. So 2/10 plus 3/10, add those together, 5/10. And if you know how to reduce, you know that reduces to 1/2, but we don't have to do that yet. But you should have gotten 5/10 for the answer. Let's try another one. Write down 7/8 minus 1/4. Go ahead and pause your video and give that one a try. Okay, so my step one here, see if we got it correct. take my denominators, 8 and 4, find the common denominator. So 8, 16, 24, 4, 8, 12, 16. See there, my lowest one in common is an 8. Okay, so I'm going to change both denominators to an 8. So we know there'll be 8 on the bottom now. My top fraction already has an 8. I don't have to do anything. Just keep it 7/8. My bottom fraction is a 4, so I have to times by 2 to equal 8. So whatever I do to the denominator, I do to the numerator. 1 times 2 is 2. Now you see they're both 8s on the bottom. So now I can subtract. So 7 minus 2 is 5. And my denominator of 8 stays the same, 5/8. Okay. I just wanted to review that again. That's been giving all of us a little bit of trouble. Hopefully that helps you feel a little more comfortable with it. And we'll do more practice on that tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening and stay safe out there in that ice and snow.